welcome back here in the studio. And while the jury is deliberating and making their very, very tough decision between those 16 finalists of the Global Grand Finals, we will have a nice conversation at this table. I am very happy that I'm here and not back with them, because it's a tough one this year. We're going to talk about the power of diversity, inclusion, gender, whatever comes to the table. First of all, a warm welcome to you. Sarah Eve Fuentes, you are a vice chairwoman and a Women in Cleantech and Sustainability. That's a mouthful, but it sounds beautiful. Marielle Veenstra, PhD at the TU Delft, Senior Consultant Research and Innovation at the EU and Expert Gender and Energy Transition. That is an even longer one, also very beautiful. Thank you for joining us today. And Job Blom, welcome to you as well. ClimateLaunchpad National Lead. So you've been working a lot with the startups of this year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Definitely. Sustainable entrepreneur yourself, so welcome to the table. And co-founder of Clean Tech Hub.
Correct.
Yes, let's talk diversity.
Yes.
First of all, what are the benefits in the long term?
I think the benefits of diversity are just perspective. I think when you have a diverse team or diverse people within your organization, you're going to get a broader perspective. So let's just start with that.
Yes.
What do you think?
Broaden the horizon. Okay, for you?
Oh, and it's the norm, you know, it's the way it should be and it will be and it's the future.
And I think
it's like normal, you know, it's a bit like same with the discussion with sustainability, you know, I started 20 years ago and now it became like the norm, you know, it became normal, and then that's the same with diversity, it's like normal, you know.
And the amazing thing, if you're starting your own enterprise and you get to do it like very well from the start.
From the
it's
start.
Not even a question, right?
For the startups, it won't be a discussion, I think, because they're all locally based, locally operating, local teams, local solutions, local.
Yeah.
So
yeah, totally.
for the startups, it's different, but for bigger corporates, it's a different discussion, of
yes,
course.
Yes, definitely. And what do you think?
Yes, indeed, it's a discussion, but it's a discussion more. Well, it's a discussion we have more frequently, and and I think what I see is that it's a discussion not only within the corporate world, but also within the governmental world, the civil society at least. And I think it's crucial to focus on diversity because, well, there is not such a thing as the consumer, you know. There is a diversity in society. So products, policies, design should reflect the diversity in society more often. And I think that is the notion, the perspective, and indeed why it's so crucial to have diversity in your design processes.
Yeah, totally. We've seen a lot of very tech scale-ups presenting today, but we're also touching upon the lives of people in here.
Indeed, it's the end user is diverse. Yeah. So you need to incorporate that perspective. Yeah. And a way to do that is to have a more diverse team working on those innovations.
Yeah. So between us in Dutch we say preken voor eigen parochie, which translates in we all
practice
together here, we know practice what you preach. Thank you. But at the same time, we've seen this changing over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
There's so much more emphasis on this topic. Why is that? Are people now finally seeing the advantages, or is there just a fresh wave of people?
I think it's a combination. I think generations, I mean, that's something, maybe you can reflect on that as well. It's, I think, a generational thing. Yeah. In addition to that, funding too. I mean, many funders, whether they are investors or grants like the European funding schemes, etc., are requesting a gender focus, for example, or a diversity focus in business plans and development. So I think
helped.
I mean, it stimulates at least. Sometimes it's checking boxes, but at least they are considering and thinking about it. Plus, we have more talent. I think that's something you can also relate on.
Yeah, I think that when you were able to have that talent pool, right, and to be able to draw in with working with women, and you get a different perspective with working with women. Yeah. And I believe that women are naturally builders. We naturally know how to create things. So you get this different type of energy and vibe from that diverse pool. And I think when you're able to build something like that, people are going to be drawn and attracted to that. People want to be drawn to something new. And so why now? Well, partly because it is people are saying, hey, we want to have more culture. We want to see more culture in our businesses, and people are able to relate to that culture.
I think also like I found it always striking that people look at work as well. That's the place where I work, and then I'm gonna be myself again because then it's my free time.
But that is different.
I
with
never saw
female.
that. I always felt like I am a human person, and I spend a lot of time with my colleagues. Let's better make the best out of it, and that's like it's living, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that is correct, and I have the same. But that's even more with female leaders.
Yeah.
Like I work a lot with co-founders, which are women, of course, in my organization, and they run my company like it's a family. You know, it's like it's a good status quo. It's a good sense of being, good attention, good work-life balance.
Yeah.
We have organic growth, you know, of 25%. We don't need to double the digits, because why should we? You know, it's like good if we grow our team and our family slowly but surely, and there's no conflict, you know, because I had like, we had like one company with 2 male persons, 1 female, and she was always being like our conflict resolution, you know, in between the table. We were fighting with our egos and with our, and then she came in and it was immediately
That is
solved.
something ego, right?
Yeah. I think it's, you bring up a very valid point about the conflict. I feel like, you know, women naturally want to build. We naturally want to connect. We're connectors. Where, you know, the male perspective is very competitive. You know,
Very
there's this
much.
competitive aspect of it. And when you have women that are taking charge and leading, we're looking to nurture and also build simultaneously. And maybe there's that aspect of us being mothers and some of us knowing how to multitask, so we're able to handle distractions a little bit differently. So there's that
but
aspect
also
there.
your employees, you treat them like your kids, you know, it's really, like, but in a positive way, I mean, you know, you really build this sense of family.
But
sorry to interrupt that, but I also think that what we say here demonstrates that you need, even when in gender, diverse teams. So not only male oriented teams,
for sure.
not only female teams. No, I think that the mix and the balance is crucial to have both the best of both worlds.
And it's a bit polarized to say female, male, because I think by creating an atmosphere that is more diverse, male colleagues can demonstrate feminine values because they have that in them as well, and you have so many varieties of people. So it's more about like how can we sort of integrate all these elements.
Talk about cultures and backgrounds and where do you come from, where do you live, what tribe do you belong to? You know, like there's so much diversity and with that complementarity, like it should not be like a melting pot. It should be like a mosaic, you know, of everybody contributing their core knowledge, their core insights, their fresh ideas, their cultural backgrounds, their passion to it.
So we've been traveling from Kenya to Mozambique to Peru to UK, to, everywhere around the world today. Let's like dive into the differences, global north, global south. Are there differences in this regard of diversity?
I would say, well, in the States, in America, recently it is now a requirement for public entities to have women on the board. Why? Because we only saw male in the boardrooms. And so now there's definitely why now. You brought that up, like why now? That's one of the reasons why. It's because you're checking that check mark. So I definitely see that emphasis going in the United States. It's like, okay, that we're trying to make it culturally sound. We want to bring more diversity. We want to be more inclusion. So hopefully that it's not just because it's mandatory. It's because people want to participate. It's because we want to see that impact.
Yes, and it's also, I think, if you look at the geographical spread, it's also a matter of bringing your own identity, and that's something you touched upon too. It's a bit like your professional identity and private identity, but having an open atmosphere and transparency to be who you are and to bring your own perspective to the table, I think is crucial. On the other hand, I do see huge cultural differences in that, no? And in not all regions in the world, it's a given that, for example, women can raise their voices and participate, and that's also linked to inequalities in access to education, inequality to access to infrastructure and support mechanisms that needs to be in place as well to be able to participate and to be at the table, in the boardrooms, within companies, etc. And I think with your experience also internationally, I'm looking forward to
it's completely different per country, you know. But even within a country, you know, if you live in Amsterdam or in a small village where I live, you know, the culture is completely different. And we have offices in Amsterdam, South Africa, Colombia. South Africa, Colombia, completely different, of course. You know, there in South Africa, you have the whole apartheid history with black economic empowerment. So it's like mandatory, you know, it's a big focus already for 20 years. In Colombia, it's a masculine kind of society, but you have huge female leadership. You know, it's incredible. We have like a rate of 35% of female founders within ClimateLaunchpad, while in your Silicon Valley, it's like 15% maybe. So it's double. We have like a female mayor in Bogota, you know, lots of action there. So this is probably also my final discussion, or being in a panel as a white male from the Netherlands, older age, being a director, you know, it's probably.
But also in the Netherlands, I am a woman in the construction industry, in the built environment. I felt very uneasy that they would always stress like female in, you know, like you are a specific species almost. But at the same time, we do need it. So every person that is watching today who can sort of somehow show and demonstrate, like we do need it still.
And culture eats strategy, you know, like at the end, the culture even within a company is completely, Google has a different company culture than IBM or ABN AMRO or Bank of America, you know, like, so also the culture within a company, it's the strongest asset that you actually have, you know, and especially working as one team in all.
I think that leads into values, right? Like, what are the values? Like, within my company, our values are transparency, circularity, and people. So why do we do what we do? It's for people. I represent a very small minority of Native American and Mexican women that are in the clean tech space. So my focus is definitely always going to be people. My people have always thought circular. We've always thought that way, and we practice that. So I love that you bring that up, the individuality and leading forward with that. And that's the thing that I want to see more people doing, is being unapologetic about it.
But I think what is crucial is to have then an enabling environment. And feeling the openness and the transparency and the support from your management as well to demonstrate your own individuality, isn't it?
Because that's what I want to touch upon. Like everyone listening today, what can we do to bring more diversity and inclusion, even more? Because we are setting the tone. Because we can do from scratch. We can do it in the best possible way.
Well, indeed, and I think that is a huge, mandate, but also responsibility. And I think that is sometimes when you are a startup, there are so many other things on your plate as well. So you can really focus on first of all, what kind of organization I do want to be. But then the investors are coming, then the market's picking up, then you're growing at a certain moment, hopefully. And then it's to stay true to your values. And I think that is the a bit a tricky part of it. No? So I do believe that's the environment around it. So the investors, governments, but also the market and the consumer should support these startups in reminding them of their values when they do when they start it. No?
That's also why you stressed maybe in a program, right? Like talk to your customers and talk to the people in your organizations, and like it's people. It's like amazing tech and all the solutions are incredible, but it's about people.
And it starts with better awareness, you know, be aware of it, you know, and then you can make better choices, and then you can create better results. And also actually with ClimateLaunchpad in Colombia, we have now also support from the Irish to do gender mainstreaming. So we are going to implement it in everything we do, in organization, in the program, in the selection, what we of course already did. You know, we were looking at different regions. We were looking at male, female founders in our selection process as well. But the funny thing, and that is all like almost normal, but the funny thing is they also let us look at our communication.
Yes.
So we looked back at our Facebook, at our LinkedIn, what were we posting, how were we posting it, and from what kind of perspective were we actually communicating it. And that was actually really like a big eye-opener.
I totally, I
so
totally
it's
understand.
all interesting stuff.
Wow. We already spoke very briefly about investors. Are they demanding more diversity?
I believe they are. I believe that investors are looking to work with women with definitely a diverse background that have culture. And what we're finding too is that, you know, we're able to provide at least women and the investors that are looking to invest in that they're looking for them to be successful.
Yeah.
And these companies are seeing that the diverse companies that they're investing in are having a level of success, partly because they are able to have a different perspective and they are holding true to their values and maintaining them and calling out people that maybe aren't practicing what they preach, like we just mentioned.
It's interesting because it's like winning together instead of like I am like, you know, and I am the one succeeding. That's very masculine, but then winning together.
I think it's an ideal situation, right? We all want a win-win-win.
Yeah.
True, and and I think that's being a startup. You are so aware of the fact that you need others because you're just starting up.
Yeah.
And I think to hold on to that notion of you need everyone. Or everyone, at least. Now you need a village to raise a child. You need a village to raise your own business, isn't it? No? So I think to keep monitoring that, and I do applaud everyone who starts with gender mainstreaming, but then it should not evaporate. No? So you need to keep monitoring it.
Exactly.
You need to have
be
commitments.
DNA
Yes, you need to get committed to that on a longitudinal stage.
So then it's because we touched upon authenticity earlier today. It's also like even asking people to help you is already like a step forward, right? To invite others, to make it human, to be vulnerable. You can't always know it all.
True.
How can you sort of, that's also a way of looking at diversity, of course.
Yes, and I think that, we didn't touch upon age, but I think what we often see in successful startups is also a combination of seniority and early career and have a wonderful combination of experience and different skill sets. So I think that is another layer to diversity.
But age, what would be ideal for organizations?
Well, what I heard is that indeed there is a certain combination where younger professionals are often a bit more growth oriented, where the older professionals are more focusing on sustainability. So indeed, I mean it's all about balance, and in some businesses, in some industries, some sectors, it might be 50-50 or it might be 30-40 or whatever percentage. So I think it's figuring out that balance and still continue this open environment. I think that is
interesting. I remember that we also started with only young people. That was the only thing I could afford. And now we have a big team with different ages also, which helps a lot. And I find that it's more about talent and about the willingness to want to grow.
Indeed.
And that's something...
Grit is the most important aspect.
Yeah.
Grit.
Every age. Every age.
Yeah.
If that's the people you need to look for. It's not necessarily only the age. It's more about your willingness to want to move forward.
Yeah, and people with the sparkle in the eye that go for it and have the passion and determination to do it, to make it happen. Yeah.
What would be your advice for the people watching today on creating more diversity?
Yeah, I think it's crucial. You know, it's like the think global, act local, but also think differently. You know, and think out of the box. That's why we are all here. You know, like we can't solve climate change mitigating what we have been doing. You know, we have to be completely disruptive. That's the whole idea about ClimateLaunchpad. So that's also what we need in those teams. You know, you need different opinions. You need to fail big. You know, you make mistakes, no problem. There's this trust in the team. You know, you can fail, and you have to respect all opinions, and that makes it strong. You know, challenge everyone and really make this complementary team.
Yeah. Yeah, so I hear something about responsibility, because you're able to build your team the way you want. So use that momentum, basically.
Indeed.
But also, let's be bold.
Yeah, and even bolder.
Even bolder. If you think bold and big, then go even a step further. That's amazing. In Holland, for instance, we're pretty like just act normal, and that's like crazy enough.
No, I always.
For instance, that's also a cultural thing.
No, and with my presentations, I always start with that video of Think Differently from Steve Jobs. You know, like those people that think they can change the world are the ones that do. You know, that are crazy enough that they think they can change the world are the ones that do, and they come from all ranges, all countries, all tribes, all cultures, all ages, all gender. You know, like.
Yeah, so let's all be a bit crazy and bold. And
exactly.
ambitious. Yeah.
I got to add one thing, which is also be fun.
Yeah.
I think that when you incorporate fun, you're going to become more creative, more innovative, and people are going to be attracted to that. And so when you're fun and you are unapologetic about that, and you're the fun crew, you know everybody's going to want to come work for you. You know everybody's going to say, hey, do you work for that fun company?
Yeah.
And that's also going to bring the ages, the young, maybe someone's more senior, but they're still young at heart. Right? And they're going to want to work for that fun company and to continue to be that childlike spirit, because people are attracted to that. And I think when you lead with fun, you're always going to have a better outcome. People are going to be more happy to work for you. People are going to be more happy to be a part of your community. I love that about women in clean tech and sustainability, that we are fun. We want to have fun. We want to do it, and we want to change the world while we're doing it. We don't want to be boring. So I think just having fun is key to that.
Oh, I absolutely love this. This is really so important, because we are tackling. We spoke about that in the first session. We are facing crises. This is not like we're playing, you know, like kindergarten. This is serious stuff.
Yes.
At the same time,
it's heavy.
It's really heavy, but creating an environment that is really fun, because you're together, you're joining and you're making an impact, that is like so powerful.
It brings the momentum.
Yeah.
When you're having fun, it brings the mobility, and it's just so attractive.
I think it's like my therapy, basically, for coping with whatever's going on.
Yeah, but
like,
because
I see it already for 10 years. Like that's the way to scale.
Yes, indeed, and it also creates a shared ownership, a shared ownership for the company, a shared ownership for the culture that you want to incorporate and want to spread, and the narrative you want to spread out.
So effective.
Indeed, and it's and I think in the long run it brings you further, because and especially when you're talking about sustainability, climate change, diversity. Well, we can all say like, hey, come up, you need to do this and that and that, but then people, it's too big that people don't feel, what can we do? How can we contribute? And I think then you see a lack of ownership and a lack of responsibility in that sense.
And I think there's also a correlation, or I don't know, maybe that's a difficult word to use, but between being more in the fun mode and also the amount of creativity that it unlocks.
Well,
because if we are so serious, and also all the startups today, we want to make a difference, we want to make it work, we work so hard, you know? It's like, it's really a different species being entrepreneurial, basically.
The passion,
but then,
right?
I mean,
it's the passion.
It's the passion, also what you touched upon in the beginning. It's also part of your own personality. So it's your professional identity, but it's the professional identity and who you are. I mean, I think that if we look around here around the table, I think what brought us so far and brought us here was the fact that we feel very much personal, inspired to make that change.
Inspired, empowered.
And empowered indeed, but it's not always the easy job to do, isn't it?
No.
So in that sense, you better have fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. One last remark.
I would say that I would feel that it was my right, to make an impact, to preserve what we can do for our people and our planet.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's my right.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
And it's the only thing.
That's all we got.
That's all. Yeah, it's all we got. It's all we need.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much.